systems. As the Director of Academic Innovation at York University in Toronto, she leads research on how cutting-edge technologies can support teaching and learning experiences that help people to connect to themselves, to others, and to the natural world. In this keynote address, she will explore post-digital education as the now intrinsically entangled nature of the digital and instructional, requiring us to create more robust systems of academic innovation. After Michelle gives us her overview, Marlon Stiles, who is the former superintendent of Middleton City School District in Ohio, will join me and Michelle for a conversation about what this means for school system leaders. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Michelle Sengara to the stage.
It's so wonderful to be here. I almost cried back there watching those awards being handed out and hearing Cheryl. I tell you, I feel you on the Energizer Bunny thing too. I get that a lot. So I think you're going to feel that vibe from me for the next 20, 25 minutes. Those in the front specifically. I've warned them about the volume on the microphone, so hopefully we'll level it out. But I'm so excited to be here in Austin, Texas. I had to wear my cowboy boots in honor of being here from the cold north. And it's actually my birthday tomorrow, and I know I'm skipping over. Thank you. But this is my birthday gift to myself, being around this amazing community of leaders and being part of the conversations and sessions that I've been able to attend over the last few days. It's really overwhelming, the power and strength of this community. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always known somewhere inside of myself that education has the power to transform. And I took that roadshow all over the world, in Southeast Asia and on the continent of Africa and in North America at schools. And I've seen it, as you have here, and I know you're fellow believers in the transformational property of education. So what I would like to do today, in the short amount of time we have together, is I'd like to knit together some of the threads that have been pulled in the individual conversations that we've experienced over the last few days and create a more kind of cohesive viewpoint, because creating robust systems of innovation is often feeling like we're putting together a puzzle that looks uber complicated and we don't have all the pieces. So if we can define a bit clearer some of those pieces in the next 20 minutes, and then we'll continue our conversation. But my intention is right there in the title, because, I mean, systems and innovation, these are words you've heard so many times in so many different contexts. Like, what the heck do they mean? Robust, yes, of course. We all want to be building things that last, that are sustainable. Why are we working so hard? We want to work smarter. So what I would like to do is focus on the creating bit, the creating part of systems of innovation, and hopefully inspire you to walk away after this conference with some tangible, practical examples of the step-by-step process that I've taken in multiple different private sector and public sector work over the years. Some of my examples are going to be in the higher education context and involve some research in Canada, but as we know, there's a lot of common denominators when it comes to education and creating systems of innovation. So you'll have no problem seeing the relevance in your home context. The clicker works. Yeah. All right, step one. Step one, we've heard it again tons of times in these sessions. What do we need to do? Michael said it in the opening keynote. We have to get on the same page. What does stuff mean? What is the purpose of education? I was facilitating a session on social emotional learning yesterday, and we had a whole 20-minute conversation on the ambiguity of that term, and it ended up being boiled down to like the group saying, well, that's the point of education, is to teach people how to be humans. Well, it was to us in that room, but is it to the people that you're working with and the stakeholders in your community? So defining and getting on the same page. For the purposes of this conversation today, I use a term in the description of this talk called postdigital. So what exactly does postdigital mean? If you Google the term, which I'm sure some of you have, there's lots of different interpretations of that term. I look at it as a comparative. So digital age began in the Industrial Revolution, that mid-20th century time period, where the television, the personal television was coming into everyone's homes, the personal computer, I totally had one of those. A personal computer was in everyone's homes, and who could forget the CD collection in your pocket that came out in the iPod. So this was the digital age where these individual tools were emerging and coming into our lives, but now it's different. Now our culture, our society is interwoven with these pieces of technology. The healthcare system would not be the healthcare system today without online patient files and referral systems and telehealth opportunities. And so health and the health industry, now it's embedded. Dating, right? I don't know if any of y'all, I'm still single, unfortunately. Well, come talk to me later. The online dating has not served me so well. But dating and love now, it's inextricably connected to technology. And of course, education and teaching and learning. So once we define step one, now we empathize. Now everybody in this room knows what understanding your stakeholder perspectives is about, identifying the gains and pains of different folks, but systems are driven by people. So I want to just take a minute and talk about how we've approached empathy mapping stakeholders in the work that I've done. So we try to look at it as a three-tiered approach, just like when you were teaching. If you were teaching something, you would have large group interactions, you would have small group interactions, and then you'd have the more one-on-one personal group type of opportunities. So we try to collect data at each of those levels. In the large group initiative, we run what we call pulse surveys. So taking the pulse of our community members, and that is a survey. It's only quantitative. There's no qualitative analytics, unfortunately. But it's a quantitative survey. It goes out quarterly to every student, every instructor, every staff member, and it changes. Sometimes we look at keeping the questions the same for comparative analysis purposes, obviously. But if there's a hot topic like ChatGPT, guys, we're putting it on the pulse survey. We want to know. We want to know what's going on, what people are thinking in terms of these emergent pieces of technology. So large scale. Those are thousands and thousands of responses. Then we move into the hundreds, which comes through our direct research initiatives. So whether teachers are doing something interesting in their courses or a department is designing a program to better integrate experiential learning opportunities or work-integrated learning, or our most recent study was on high flex teaching and learning methodologies, which is that hybrid flexible model. And we have surveys and focus groups in those research studies, and those are another source of data on how things are going for us and what our population needs. Last but not least, focus groups. This is something I introduced when I started my tenure because we know that the large and the medium are important, but it's the one-on-one. It's those moments you can get people where they get real. Like, let's just talk about how scary some of this stuff is. Let's just talk about your feelings. My friends call me a hippie businesswoman. I'm all about them feelings, y'all. So those one-on-ones are important. So 3 times a year, we run focus groups with students, no more than 20 students per focus group, no more than 20 instructors per focus group or admin. So large scale, mid-scale, small scale data to better understand our people. So what are some of the things we've recently, the distillation of some of these thoughts and actions in recent months in this past year? When we look at what students have been saying, who needs school? They're hearing it. Like, is school really important anymore? Like, what am I actually here for? It doesn't seem that a lot of this stuff applies to me. They still are predominantly caring about their grades, their outcomes, the grades, as that's an element of our system that doesn't seem to go away, our hierarchy, our competitive strategy. So students are still focusing on that because we're focusing on that. And they want to have purpose, right? The great resignation that's happening in our workforces. I'm sure you've seen it in your schools. Well, our students are seeing it and hearing it as well. When it comes to our teachers, they hear a lot, sorry, we have no money. I need incentives, they tell us. You can't keep asking me to do more without giving me more, something. Not always tangible financial incentives, but some level of recognition. They see that life is changing so fast, and they want to keep up with it, but dang, those IT lines. You know, I know what you want me to do. I'm trying to do what you want me to do, but you're not giving me some of the things that I really need. From an admin perspective, they hear that people need more. They don't necessarily have any more to give. They understand that there needs to be more, but they need, right now, we're trying to do more with less. We're in a different situation in terms of funding mandates. I know that the 15-month funding deadline has been a very large topic of conversation over the last few days that I've been a part of, but in Canada, we never got a huge insurgence of cash, so it's about doing more with less. When it comes to technology, students are no longer convinced that technology is the answer everywhere. They've had enough problems, they've had enough issues, that they understand that they love the flexibility. They love it. But it's not that ubiquitous yes answer anymore in our data. It's, if you give me what I need, you know? Technology is everywhere, we see that, but I need it to matter to me. I need my needs, my personal needs to be met. Instructors in our institution, we are known for being a very innovative institution, York University. They see that innovation can be fun. They see that higher capital costs can lead to lower operating costs. Like we have a learning objects database, and they understand that, you know, building that database, contributing to that database, but now they get to drag and drop all these really cool activities from fellow instructors. The engagement piece is kind of the main performance indicator, and it's unclear. I'm sure everybody in this, how many times have you been faced with instructors that are like, how am I supposed to know if my students are engaged when all I see is a black box on the screen? So engagement is one of those things that we use as a marker, but we're not sure anymore how engaged our students are. And innovation is a process. We really are working on embracing failure as opportunities in our people-driven system. Last but not least, innovation is a brand asset. For the admin, it does give them a competitive advantage. Like I say, I already just say, York University is branded as an innovative school. There is a competitive advantage to it. People in the admin know that there's a necessity to it and that it can pay off. So these are some of the recent findings from those 3 tiers of empathy, our environmental scanning, our pulse surveys, our focus groups, and our research. Next step. So everybody here might do that differently. But step 2, knowing what we can, but it's not just doing it once. It's how do you get a feedback loop happening between what's going on for the people in your system? And how do you check in with them on more than just those big biannual moments? We've heard a lot about vision and the importance of purpose in building our systems and enabling them to be robust. And the one we work with is a combination of 2 theoretical frameworks. Again, these are very widely known at our institution. It's the language that we use to communicate what it is that we're doing. Entangled pedagogy is a theory that comes from Tim Fawns out of the University of Edinburgh. Basically, someone from the University of Edinburgh? No, or maybe Tim Fawns himself is here? No. It's the intrinsic nature that it's not pedagogy first, it's not technology first, it's not a cart and a horse, okay? We're going together. We're walking together. We're moving together. And how do we conceptually, I'm going to give you some very practical ways that we're doing that. So entangled pedagogy and digital transformation. If technology is an inextricable link to teaching and learning, then we're talking about change management, as annoying as it is. It's digital transformation. It's everywhere. It's all the pieces of the puzzle. So that when I go to talk to a student advisor or a guidance counselor, and I go to talk to an instructor, or I go to talk to any member of the ecosystem, they understand that they're part of it because we're talking about digital transformation. We're not talking about technology in the classroom. We're talking about digital transformation. This is in response to a post-digital education reality, and we believe, this is our kind of tagline, the mandate that gets repeated a lot at our institution, that why digital transformation? Because we're going to leverage the heck out of technology to make teaching and learning more human. We focus on technology-enhanced social-emotional learning, embedding it in curriculum. It's not a one-off activity where you talk about emotional intelligence. It's everywhere. It's pedagogical. So is diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. It's in every conversation. You can't not have it be part of the conversation. And ultimately, it's to produce students, empower students to be versatile and valuable, in a world that everybody realizes we have no idea what it's going to look like. Generative AI? Come on. Who knows? Cybersecurity? Russia? Am I right? Who knows? Let's empower our students to be versatile and valuable no matter where automation takes us, no matter how much disruption happens in our economy and our society. So let's walk through some clear system structures. These are things that we've put in place that help us deliver on our purpose and meet the needs identified of our people. So one of the first things we do is we have a cross-disciplinary community of practice. Again, multiple touch points, right? This isn't like a one-time we talk to people. You don't build skills in a 3-hour workshop. You know, you have to put in the work. So this community of practice is really exciting. It involves instructors from all across different disciplines: English, philosophy, engineering, natural sciences, you name it. And it also involves technologists, AI architects, learning management system. We use Moodle. We can talk about Moodle offline. I can't be recorded talking about Moodle. But learning management system experts, coding experts, and our IT innovation leaders. So we've got lots of different representation there. So what do? We meet every month. 2 weeks after that, they get an email setting up what the monthly meeting is going to be about. There's a theme. There's some questions to consider. There's some things we want them to test out. Here's a new feature on the learning management system. Is it helpful? Would it be something that you would use in your classroom? VR headsets. What do you want to know? I'll bring one to the next meeting. We'll test it out. Like, what are you interested in? Then we meet, so there's that touch point to get everybody ready for what's to be expected, and then we meet for an hour every month, and we distill. So there's a record keeper of all the discussions. We make sure that it's recorded because, as you'll see, a big part of this process-driven system is line of sight. So people talk about things. I mentioned something. I'm concerned about something. Where did it go? What did you do about it? Did anybody hear me? Hear my voice? Because I took a minute to tell you what I was thinking. So line of sight. So it's recorded. Then we've got development sandboxes. So this is that one-on-one. This is that we have 10 to 15 teachers. We offer them, they apply. It's an academic innovation fund, which is about $50,000 a year. And we get 10 to 15 teachers. They each get $5,000 to work with us for a year. And we study the courses and the build-outs that they make. But it's an opportunity for them to get in there and test a bunch of really cool, interesting functions and features. This is led by myself, the Director of Academic Innovation, and our Director of IT Innovation, who has all those answers about Moodle. So we've got that kind of large group, small group. Then we've got the decision makers. So we put people who make decisions, whether it's procurement, finance, we always got to bring those finance people in, provost representation, decision makers, where now we share what happened in the community of practice monthly meeting. What did they say? What do we want to do? What's happening in the sandbox? What are the kinds of decisions? And then when we meet next with the community of practice, we talk about what the Innovation Steering Committee talked about. It's not always you had a problem, you wanted us to spend money to do something, and then we're going to do it. That's not always how it goes. For example, one of the recent asks was to put a plug-in into Moodle for peer assessment. Well, it's a software, it's proprietary, it would require York University paying a license. Whereas the vision of York is that we can build out. Moodle is open source. So you want functions and features that are available with this plug-in software. Okay, tell us those. Let's work on building those out. Robust, sustain. Let's see if we can do it here so we're not always plugging and playing with proprietary software. So it's that line of sight between the elements of the process. And something I'm really proud of is we've finally put together a set of performance indicators, a competency framework for innovation. So now one of those incentives for instructors to play in this sandbox, to participate in these communities of practice, is that they can be recognized. There's no financial reward to this. It's just there's a skill set. We get them to demonstrate that skill set, and there's digital badging that comes with this competency framework. Then our teaching commons, like people who are working in the professional development space, can all speak the same language in terms of those skills. It's improved job mobility, instructors getting promotions, and some are putting them on their LinkedIn profiles, that there are tangible skills of what it means to be an innovator, and I'm in it. I'm in the mess. I'm in the mess with everybody. And this is a really, this is where rubber meets the road, is that everybody here is so passionate, and we all want everything to have happened yesterday. You only have 15 months left of this funding. But systems that are robust require time. So that instinct to run on other people's schedules, we have to feel our way out in community how to do that with intention. So 4 things to consider as you start to mitigate these short-term, mid-term, and long-term decision-making processes in your home institutions are: step 1, attitudes, mindset. We're humans, people-driven systems, right? Care, empathize, understand, and talk about risks. I have found is the best way to mitigate risk aversion, is that I see you, I hear you. That's real. It's real. Let's talk about how you're supported. But transformation attitudes and getting people's buy-in, obviously. Step 2, those incentives and those investments. Representational, realistic, getting creative. And one of the questions we asked on our focus groups last year with instructors was, what do incentives look like to you? What would be an incentive? I don't want to assume. I want to see what I can provide to you, because sometimes it's a lot easier than we think. Not always. Transformational guidelines. Here we focused a lot on entangled pedagogy. Like, what does it really mean from a curricular organization standpoint? Modular, self-paced, so on. Pedagogically and assessment-wise. We have rubrics and templates and all these things that instructors can download and use so that across the board, again, students are getting that equitable experience across different classes and grade levels. And last but not least, that knowledge, that transformation governance, mobilizing knowledge, things that are happening right now, right here, what you're doing. This is an incredibly important element of digital transformation and the movement towards entangled pedagogy and the creation of robust systems of innovation. I know we want all the answers. I know we want to walk away from here and say, like, I've got that silver bullet. But I don't think we're here to answer these big, complex problems, to solve them. We're here to understand what are the processes and the components that we can put together. What can we create so that no matter what comes next, ChatGPT, cybersecurity, generative AI, who knows what's going to come next? But do you have processes in place to handle that? Communities of practice, dev sandboxes, opportunities to collect data in an iterative, formative fashion. That's what we need to focus on, because the next problems are coming. But hopefully, what we gather from today is not a focus on the problems, but a focus on the fact that if we put these things in place, we will be agile enough to deal with whatever problems we experience today, but more importantly, the problems we don't even know exist in the future. So thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today, and let's keep the conversation going. Like I say, we are one of the biggest resources we have at our disposal when we're trying to work on creating robust systems of innovation. Thank you so much.